Let's do that thing where we pretend we've been talking, like just like we do this dynamic where people they've entered, like they've just walked in on us. This is the thing I like to do. Yes,
Joseph, what is this?
You know it's all about
But
I don't know.
Oh, that wasn't you, actually. My God,
That wasn't me.
Really
brother.
thought that was something that you had done.
I haven't. I don't think I've added anything. I was pretty mature. I actually only did like 2 shows too, which helps because
Who gives a fuck?
passage that needs to be.
we're actually live right now. I almost opened it up like we were all talking backstage. But the Cody Rhodes Dumb and Dumber bit where he's like, no, but that's a really nice ski mask, and like everybody starts laughing, and like nobody knows what the joke is.
That's what we need to do. We need to always make the people feel like they missed out on something funny. We're listening to an hour of nothing funny.
Hell yeah!
So, the great Jeremy Lambert is back. I mean, not back from his full vacation, but he's doing part-time podcasting for the next couple of days, right, Jeremy?
I'm fully back tomorrow.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well, Jeremy's fully back tomorrow, but he's here today to, I don't know, man, talk about stuff. And the great Joe and Jensen is here still because he's the only one that shows up to this show every week. Bless him. The rest of us have just fucking ruined the whole thing.
Joseph, I gotta, because he's in the chat. 4 or 5 Wits is in the chat. He says hello.
Yeah.
Joseph.
Oh, that's tremendous. Yeah, that's good shit.
Got it. Thanks to 4 or 5 Wits.
Now, the best thing is Jensen's looking at that shirt. He has no clue what wrestler's shirt that is because why would he? It just says kick.
What is it?
So explain, Jeremy.
This is the shirt for. I should move my mic closer. Do I sound better? It's been a while. It's a shirt for either Ty Conti, Bryan Danielson, or Bobby Fish. One of the 3. You can take your pick of who this shirt represents.
I like it. That's good stuff right there.
It rules so much that, like, even if that's what it was, you would still pick Bobby Fish. That's tremendous.
And it's an actual Bobby Fish shirt, so Did you see?
Right.
Did you see my guy on Friday? Big Dick Bob Fish. Black Friday. Big Dick Bob Fish.
Dude, that finish looked incredible. The Falcon Arrow.
Yeah.
Oh my god, he killed him.
Yeah, that was sick.
Yes.
He's good, man. I mean, it says a lot about the distraction. That when people ask, they come up to me in the street and they say, what makes the distraction different? And I say, well, Jeremy's favorite member of the Undisputed Era is Bobby Fish, and mine's Roderick Strong. And then I just say, built different, and I walk away.
I saw a lot of Adam Cole talk on the timeline.
Ugh.
Yeah. Did you start that, Joseph? Is that because of you?
No,
Give me a background on that, by the way. I saw he was like trending yesterday. I haven't been on Twitter in a couple days, so what's the big deal with
basically every single week the WWF folks get mad that he's not like the world champion, and they basically do their version of what normal wrestling fans do when like a guy gets buried in WWE, and they're like, look at what they've got him doing over there. And then Grapsity's Will, friend of the show, got Tony Khan in his mentions being like, yeah, fuck those guys.
That's tremendous.
Yeah, that was
that's
really
what
fun.
I'm talking about.
And I had a little bit of fun with it and tweeted everyone should be patient with Adam Cole because he's new to the major leagues, which was a tweet that I was very proud of because that's what they always say when a guy goes from NXT to the main roster. So, look, man, I don't know where people want Adam Cole to be on that card right now. He hasn't been pinned. He's featured as a top guy. Like, he's probably going to feud with Hangman in the next couple of months. What do they want,
Yeah, exactly. And it's clearly all going to build to, like, a big thing between him and Omega, who's, like, the top guy in the company. I mean, like, yeah, Adam Cole's doing great.
Yeah,
these are people who think CM Punk is being misused because he's just, like, wrestling guys and not doing.
Oh, man.
I'm so far disconnected from all that. It's wild. Like, I just...
Should be.
Yeah. I just don't even pay attention to that. That's
when I saw that graphic, him and Lee, man, I was.
Oh yeah,
and I'm gonna be there tomorrow for it.
Oh, wow,
very nice.
That's a hell of a lineup you've got tomorrow, from what I recall. I mean, that match alone is worth it.
You're gonna hear me when Sting comes out. Like it'll be like you'll hear the tone of my just yelling voice. Yeah. Oh, dude, that's what I'm talking about. That's so sick. And then also, dude, if Kyle O'Reilly somehow shows up on this show, because like I've been calling for that since day one of AEW. I'm like, I want him so bad. Like he's one of my favorite wrestlers. I don't know if it's like logistically possible for him to be there, but it's got to be soon, right?
He's wrestling on NXT tonight. If they win, they get a tag team title shot. I would imagine. I don't think they're gonna win, but maybe they like.
Who are they wrestling?
Legado del Fantasma.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
Yeah, they like Von Wagner, so maybe they give him the tag team title match. It would be something if like they just win and it's like Kyle O'Reilly's wrestling Sunday at War Games, and then he just shows up on AEW tomorrow night. I don't think it's gonna happen.
No,
I think his contract. It is December, but I don't think it's like December 1st.
I think my guess would be that they're going to set up a trios match with the best friends. Adam Cole, Bobby Fish, and mystery partner versus the best friends. And it'll be one of those mysteries where everyone knows.
Yeah.
You know, and then Kyle comes out and he does and him and Bobby do like the shadow boxing.
Guitar.
And I just sit there crying my eyes out because Roderick Strong's wrestling Joe Gacy instead in a fucking warehouse.
Oh man, dude, I'll be like the dude when CM Punk debuted, just like crying with my hand out to the screen. Like that'll be me if I'm there live for the debut of Kyle O'Reilly. Joel Pearl has really gotten my hopes up for this whole Kyle O'Reilly showing up tomorrow thing. I'm just saying it's all his fault if it's all his fault in the positive way if it happens, and it's all his fault the other way that he's got my hopes up at this point. But
yeah, it's usually Joel Pearl's fault. I often say that. I say that a lot. Yeah. I also say that when people come up to me in the street as well. Tell me they didn't like it would say Joel Pearl. You know,
when you're walking the streets alone in your leather jacket out into the dark abyss.
Yeah, happens a lot as a wrestling fan.
Oh yeah, I know the feeling. That's how I knew what you were talking about.
Anyway, speaking of top tier professional wrestling, Jeremy, you attended the WrestleCade.
Yeah, it was the only wrestling I've watched this last week.
God bless, man, that rolls. Okay, so I have watched Jensen. I'm assuming you haven't seen any of this show, right? I'm assuming most of the chat hasn't either, so it's no big deal. I'm assuming yeah.
No, just a couple of pictures here and there.
Yeah. So I watched our friend, the Confirmed Shoot, friend of the show, great Twitter personality, of course, and a decent podcaster, apparently. He purchased the program. He allowed me to watch it legally. I'll make it clear, legally. And he told me the Rock and Roll Express match was good. I watched the match. I'm not going to comment on whether or not it was good. I think you can guess pretty much from my reactions to not watching anything else in the show other than the main event.
Who did they wrestle?
The Singh brothers, Oh, I'm mad about this. Okay,
Jensen, wait, like the Bollywood boys?
Yeah, but listen, this is frustrating. Okay, so now they're the blondes of Bollywood, but why aren't they just the Bollywood blondes?
Dude, yeah.
What the fuck, man?
Yeah, that doesn't make. I mean, there was a layup, right?
Come on, man, get it together. Anyway, they had this match with the Rock and Roll. Bless the Rock and Roll Express. They hung on. Ricky Morton was good for a long time. I don't know if he's there anymore, but he's very old, so bless him. Much
Ricky
love.
Morton buried me on Saturday.
Good. He was very mad at the crowd. He actually was looking directly into the audience and being like, "Come on, make noise. What are you doing here? This is North Carolina." He was very upset.
Yeah.
And it was quiet. And then I watched the main event because that match just convinced me I shouldn't watch anything else. Jeremy,
Joseph,
how would you like to approach this program? Like, how would you like to go, like, just talk generally about the card? Would you like to kind of sit there and isolate the Enzo Matt Hardy match?
You only watched one match that you're willing to comment on. What do you want me to comment on the rest of the card for?
But you watched all of it.
Yeah, it was. I mean, I agree with Ricky Morton. The crowd was not very, loud for most of the night. They tried to give Mercedes, Deanna, and Thunder Rosa like a "This is awesome" chant. It was very forced because that match was disappointing, unfortunately. And like 30 seconds after the "This is awesome" chant, they just went to the finish, and it was. Yeah, I don't do what.
What happened in that match? Because you said that it was disappointing. I'm confused.
Yeah, their timing was just a little bit off on like almost everything. Yeah, it just. I mean, I shouldn't. That makes it sound like they botched everything. It wasn't that, but like, it was like their timing just didn't click throughout the match, and it just made it kind of disappointing. Like they were trying. The crowd wasn't really into it. They try to force "This is awesome" chant. The finish was kind of weird. It just, when you see those three names, you're like, okay, this is going to be great. And it was just there. Like, that's kind of what it was. Otherwise there wasn't like a ton to talk. Enzo cut a promo that I think people heard on my video. And then Matt Hardy cut him off. Matt came to work a little bit, and Enzo came to be Enzo.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I mean, look, Malachi and Bud Matt thought that was, WrestleMania 40 main event caliber match right there.
I was telling Jensen before we went on the air here, folks, pull back the curtain a little bit. I said, they really worked hard. They went about 20 minutes. Buddy worked the back of Malachi. Malachi worked the leg, right, which led into the finish, Jeremy, which I'm sure popped you at 11 p.m.
It wasn't that late, actually. It was only like 8 o'clock.
And it was dead silence for this match the whole way through. The crowd did not give a shit. I don't know what, was it just not, I don't know, man. Was it just the whole show was like that?
It really was. Like, the whole show was just, it wasn't as loud as you would hope it would be. I do think that it probably wasn't as bad as it came across on television.
Yeah.
Or on the stream or whatever. Because, I don't know how the miking and stuff works, but I can't imagine Title Match does, too many, live. Jensen, you would know better than me. Did they do, a ton of live events? Because I feel like the live events are typically, Fight TV.
Yeah. And I don't know.
Or IWTV.
Yeah, a lot of it's IWTV as well. Yeah. I don't see a whole lot on Title Match, to be honest. And usually when I do, it's after the fact. It isn't live, so. Yeah,
so I don't know, how good Title Match was miking everying. The venue itself is just, it's not a bowl. It's just
it's a flat.
It's a ballroom. Yeah, so the crowd isn't going to sound so great probably regardless. I do think for Malachi and Buddy, they were into it for a decent amount of it. So if that didn't come across on TV, that's probably more of a miking type thing.
I'm very confused. Okay. So Title Match Network is different to Title Match Wrestling Network. They're two different things. That confused me. I was trying to log into the wrong site. I was getting.
Oh, wow.
So you have TitleMatchNetwork.com, which is where you can watch this show. And you have Title Match Wrestling Network, which is where you cannot watch this show.
What's on Title Match Wrestling Network, though? What's on that platform?
It says a huge library of shoot interviews, women's wrestling, stream 3,500 plus hours of wrestling on demand. Strange.
Ryan Sullivan says Title Match does the Mission Pro stuff. I haven't watched any of their stuff live. I've seen clips and whatnot, but
yeah,
I don't know how that comes across on their streaming platform. But Malachi and Bud was good.
Really good. Yeah, I mean, they chanted AEW, which felt like a direct shot at me, and they did the Jerry Lynn RVD spot. And they stood up and stared at each other, and the place was like AEW. And I was like, oh, fuck, man. I don't know. I think Bud Matt is a fascinating case study in that it appears no one gives a shit. But he's clearly a tremendous professional wrestler. I don't think that's a reach. It is what it is. Malachi Black loves the man. I mean, he sounded like he's going to cry in the ring after he was so fired up. And I don't know. I mean, everyone knows that I'm pretty high on the guy, but it seems like he's not in a great rush to take a permanent seat anywhere right now. He worked New Japan, in America, New Japan of America, fucking New Japan America, NJOA. Whatever they call this thing. No, I don't know. Strong. And he hasn't been booked there again, which is he just seems to be floating around. I don't know what his deal is. Jensen, he did a deal with, he did a 20-minute match with Ace Romero. Did you see that?
IWTV. Buddy Murphy?
Yeah.
Buddy Matthews?
He's on IWTV. A couple people hit me up about it. I haven't seen it yet.
What company was that for? Do you have
I don't know.
I had no idea. That'll be interesting.
Yes,
because AC can work.
Absolutely.
He didn't really. He kind of underachieved for what he could have been in Impact. Mm-hmm. He had a few moments. I remember him going off of a ladder once, and one of those. It was an X Division multi-person match, and he stole the show that night. So yeah, I bet that was actually really good. And with Buddy Matthews, he's in this kind of. It might be a really good spot for him, to be honest, because if the timing and everything isn't right now for him to be in like AEW, for instance, like because they got so much other stuff going on. If he can go out on the indies and like really just kill it all over the place, he's gonna up his stock and wind up where he wants to wind up. Long term, it'd be better than like getting lost in the mix, I think, too. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's difficult. The one thing that concerns me, and this goes for everyone that is kind of waiting it out.
Yeah.
They are releasing so many guys, WWE right now, that like how long ago did it feel like that Braun Strowman was the big free agent, Like so many dudes are getting cut. It's insane. We've never had a time like it. I mean, in February, Keith Lee and Strickland will enter the free agency pool. And I think for Bud it will be fine because he's a good pro. Like he's an in-ring guy. But for guys like Braun and some of these other names, it's kind of like daunting, I think, We've never had a time like this. Like, let's be honest, man. By the end of the year, there could be more of them. Like, they're releasing people at an unprecedented rate. So that's the one thing. But, I mean, I'm sure it'll be fine. He also may be waiting for Japan to, be normal again, but that could be a long time.
I think that's a big thing is, he's already working New Japan strong stuff. He worked Okada. So clearly they have some type of life for him. They're not putting anybody in the ring against Okada. I really think he's waiting for Japan to kind of open back up a little bit where traveling is easier back and forth. And I think he's going to do, I really think starting next year, he's just going to do a big tour over there. And then he'll come back in quarantine if he needs to.
New Japan strong annoys me,
Yeah.
They aired their TV last Friday, and it was taped 6 weeks ago, man. No one got into New Japan to watch TV tapings.
Moxley, the Moxley and Kingston match was just this past week, wasn't it?
Look, listen, if anyone would have got some of that shit in their mentions, it would have been me. No one talked about that match.
Yeah.
Eddie Kingston and John Moxley versus Archer and Suzuki in the Philly arena, ECW arena in Philly. And that shit went unseen. I think it's the wrong model. Jensen, what do you think? It's just the weekly TV thing for New Japan is strange.
Yeah, it's but they run into when it comes to the having to watch it later too. There's a handful of companies that I complain about a lot better like that. Like PWG is I don't know how. I should be able to watch PWG right now on demand. Everything that just happened on their last show. MLW, their big shows, same kind of thing. They'll tape it and you'll see it eventually, maybe usually on YouTube. But it's they're losing a chunk of their fan base that wants to watch it live. And then by the time they know what happens, and depending on how long it takes, you might not care. Because I remember the Moxley and Kingston tag match you're talking about, that having buzz the night of. People on the internet were excited that this match was a thing that was happening. But then by the time it actually aired, no one cares. And that is a really big problem.
Yeah, MLW is a great example where, the perfect case of it was they run Bobby Fish versus Lee Moriarty 2 weeks after AEW did, but they taped it a week and a half beforehand. It's difficult. And when you're battling for eyeballs, I think it's a real problem. This obviously was a mess too. People were like, "Oh, John's back." Come on, guys.
Yes, that was running that was because the girlfriend asked me, she's like, "Moxley's wrestling this weekend?" I was like, "Oh no, that was taped.
It's fair, yes,
a couple weeks ago." And she's like, "Oh, okay." She's like, "I figured that would be a bigger deal." I was like, "Yeah, probably just should have held off on that or something because obviously they
live when it happened."
Yeah,
and here's the other deal too. This will pop you, okay? So I didn't watch it, but I've been told by a pal of mine that they left in afterwards Lance Archer being like, "I'm going to kick the shit out of you on Wednesday, King," which was the match where poor Lance landed directly on his head and got concussed. Right. Can we not edit it out? What are we doing? This is the same company that had Marty Scurll come back until there was a lot of backlash behind it, and then they're like, "Oh, okay, maybe we shouldn't do this." Yeah, so I don't know. I'd forgotten that, by the way. I was watching the infamous. This is a deep cut. I don't know. I could lose everyone with this, but I'm going there. I tweeted about. I watched the infamous Gabe's Book of Secrets DVD earlier. When poor Gabe got fired and he decided he was going to just give away all of his ideas on a shoot interview. God bless, I respect it. And I had forgotten that they would do pay-per-views that aired 3 months later and would have to just book. Like, they'd have to just assume that you knew what happened. It was a different time, man.
That's so weird. When was that shoot interview from?
2008, right? That's when he left, right? Late 2008. Yeah, and that whole bless the guy. Like, look, Gabe's there's a million and one stories about Gabe that probably don't belong on this show, but he did a great job as Ring of Honor booker. It's just watching him sit there with his little book and being like, "Yeah, we were gonna do this. I never got to do that." It's kind of sad, man. It's what it is. You get what you get, I suppose, as Bob O'Neill would say if he was here. I haven't watched this yet, the 60-minute match in Pro Wrestling Noah. I'm going to be honest here, it's very daunting. I don't know if I can do 60-minute matches anymore at this point in my life. Jensen, you're a big 60-minute match guy.
I actually am. What match are they referring to here from Noah? What just happened?
This is the title versus title, Nakajima versus, what's the gentleman's name? The upper mid title. I forget the guy's name. He's a great worker. Jeremy?
Say that again.
The 60-minute. You wouldn't know. You've been on vacation. The chat will know. They're two top guys. I should know. It's my bad. But anyway, carry on with what you were going to say, pal. Just about the general point of 60-minute matches.
Oh, sorry. Yeah. So I was trying to look up the match as well. I always think of Marufuji when I think of them, but I know that isn't who you're talking about. But anyway, yeah, I actually do. Like the last one that I saw, there was one on IWTV. I think it was Garcia and it was either like Moriarty or Wheeler Yuta. It was one of those guys. It was a really good technical match they did on. It was IWTV. It was earlier this year. Someone in the chat will know. And I was like heavily invested in that whole match. I like the idea of it. Sometimes they can get a little boring. I get that too, like, pacing wise and stuff, but especially if the story's right. Like, for instance, if they would have done Omega and Danielson and that would have been a hour draw instead of a half hour draw, I would have been just as happy about that. You know what I mean? Because I know they'd be able to fill that time up and it'd be entertaining.
Right. The biggest
Garcia
challenge
versus Yuta was the match, by the way. It was Yuta and Garcia. Thank you.
The biggest challenge with those is like not working them in a way that makes it obvious you're going really long. Like you got to give people meat in them like early on in the middle, rather than just being like they're going 60. Like that's a real, especially when you watch the old NWA matches, brother. Those dudes like they ain't even warmed up by the 40-minute mark. They're taking their time. Like it is what it is. But yes, now I did see in the chat. And I haven't seen the recent stuff because I left it so I would remember because I have very bad memory. Is this true, Jeremy, about the big swole?
I saw that. She tweeted it herself, yeah.
Yeah.
She did.
So it's out there. She's confirmed it. She's not staying with AEW. I don't know what's next for her. I think there was a missed opportunity with her. To be more on television, especially after the Brit feud, and now like it is what it is as far as where her star power is, or just her place on the card is with these new women coming in and the people they've decided to kind of invest in over her. I think her health issues probably hurt her at a time when she seemed to be cooking up some momentum and everything. And maybe the health issues is still a thing. And that's why she feels like right now it's just best if she kind of walks away from everything instead of trying to continue to force herself to wrestle with this schedule and everything. I think I don't know if there's more to it or anything like that, but right now, I think she just kind of has her place where she's at on AEW. And for one reason or another, she isn't going to be at that place anymore. Yeah, I don't know. I don't want to speculate if it's like a health decision and not a decision on like I think I should be higher and they're not giving me this opportunity.
Right, it's difficult. Yeah, because I don't think she's been on TV. I don't think she's been on TV all year.
Yeah, the last time she wrestled on like Dynamite was God knows.
A long time.
Yeah.
Swole's, there's a lot to like about Big Swole. Still got a big upside, and hopefully that kind of finds its place.
Sorry, Joseph. She hasn't wrestled on Dark since like she did the September Universal tapings, and that was it. The last Dynamite match she had was December 2020. So
Yeah, again, it's hard to comment because you don't know how much of it is, the battle with Crohn's and all the
Right.
moving pieces. Super charismatic, great energy. Had some moments where it felt like she was going to be a breakout star in the division. It just didn't. It didn't work out for whatever reason. Hopefully, she finds a place. The women's free agency scene is really interesting because there's a couple heavy hitters that have just left WWE that I think most people are just assuming will be in AEW, but like we've all seen that TBS bracket, man. Like, they haven't got like a bunch of spots there. Like in my view, anyway. Like they've got. I mean, I think Nyla has moments where it's like, man, she needs to be on TV way more, and she's a little bit inconsistent, but like, adding more, they're going to do it because some of this talent you can't miss on. But it's just this interesting. I don't know, Jensen, what's your read on the kind of the landscape right now for women's wrestling? Where do you see Swole going, AEW? Who do you think they're going to add? All of the above. What do you think, man?
So I think AEW's women's division's in a really good spot right now. Like
Yeah.
people, I think were way too quick, and still to some degree they do it where they really like. It's like they had these super high expectations for the division right off the bat and thought that it's like, this isn't like the WWE's division, but they didn't have the luxury of having like Charlotte and Sasha and Becky and Bayley and Asuka and all the, I mean, just like they had to really build a lot of women that either the WWE had passed on or that were like floating around the independents or maybe a little green, like newer and hadn't really had any opportunity really anywhere on a mainstream level. So they had to really build the division slowly and kind of get everything in place to where it kind of is now, where now you have the perfect women's champion for them right now in Britt Baker. You have who I think is going to be one of the, not just female, but one of the biggest stars in the whole company, Jade Gargill. I think she's going to be massive. Like they have so many good women there right now. Thunder Rosa, I think Serena Deeb is the best female wrestler in the entire world right now. Like if I had to pick one for me right now, it's Serena Deeb. Like they have so many good women. I'm just barely. It's Chris Statlander, and she's only going to keep getting better. Like they're in a really good spot right now. And Tay Conti and Anna Jay. I mean, like their future. I can go on and on about how good I think they're positioned right now with their women. But then, like when you look at Big Swole, she has been kind of lost in that mix. And when you have wrestlers, for instance, like just off the top of my head, I think Ember Moon is like a can't miss. You got to sign her if you're AEW. You know what I mean?
I agree.
And and she's not the only one. There's going to be multiple women like that. They're going to come in with a lot of, even like Ruby Riott, to a very similar kind of situation. Women that are going to be coming in with fan bases built in that, if I'm being completely honest, I think are better in the ring than Big Swole is. Like, just, if by comparison. So it's like, if I had to choose like Ruby Riott or Ember Moon or Big Swole, I'd choose Ruby Riott and Ember Moon if it was me personally. Big Swole, I think, could benefit a lot if she went elsewhere and was like the main attraction of like Impact Wrestling's women's division. You know what I mean? Go there, kind of prove yourself as like that you can be a top tier kind of performer, almost like a Christian leaving WWE. Go like prove it somewhere else and then come back with a higher stock and just better overall. And then like, but also it's hard to speculate because like I don't know the reasons she's leaving.
No,
like Jeremy said, but that's kind of, it's one of those things like, do I want to see Big Swole get let go? Like, of course not. I don't want anyone losing their jobs, but at the same time, it could be really beneficial for her, and she's going to continue to get lost in the mix based on like where things are and where they're going right now in the division.
Absolutely. I mean, you mentioned some of the names, and pulling up the roster page, it is really striking how deep the division is sort of. It feels like it's happened overnight, but like you look and every name has one thing in common, which is frankly they need to be on TV more. And Thunder Rosa is a great example. Ty Conti is a great. She had a title program. I feel like she needed to be on TV more. Serena, Ruby, Rio. This is a serious thing. Layla Hirsch, I think, is awesome.
Awesome.
And, she's like completely off the board almost in terms of usage. So I think Ember, Athena is to me, she's got to be the priority. For me personally, I'm biased. She's one of my favorite wrestlers, but she's a special in ring. I mean, like her work is like historically great. Especially in that promotion, man. 12-minute, 15-minute matches on TV, maybe. She can do some special stuff. So
that finisher, that top rope stunner, as long as she can do that, she'll always be over, even with just having that one move. Because anyone who sees that for the first time always says, like, that's the coolest move I've ever seen. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and look, I think there's a lot to this. This has been debated a million one times about one woman's match per show. Listen, there's a lot of people that will say it's hard because of the. There are some dudes that have been on TV recently that don't need to be on TV, and I ain't gonna name them because I don't want to get upset anyone. You know, I did it last week. It is what it is. But like, you know, there are some dudes in pretty like they're getting used pretty often on TV that don't need to be. So you could definitely do a 2 women's matches every once in a while, I'm sure, without the thing fucking falling apart. I think you'd be okay. So I agree with that. And I agree with this too. Serena's working on TV every damn week like Danielson. She's special.
Yeah, I totally agree.
That's
I love
they're trying to do.
Gimmick. Yeah, sorry, go ahead, Jeremy.
Oh, like they've done the Serena and Sheeta stuff, and then they kind of go away from it, and like it's Serena is somebody who should probably be working on television every single week, but they only do one women's story at a time. Like that's still the knock, right? Because even the Brit story with Ty like wasn't great. Like the focus was on the TBS tournament, and like that's where they and granted to their credit, like they did try to intertwine some stories in that.
Yeah,
but it was really just about that, and then they wrapped up the stories within the tournament, and we'll see if they kind of hit some notes going back to that. But you know, with the TBS tournament, then Britt took a backseat. We've talked about it before, Joseph. Like Britt's title reign has not been what we kind of expected it to be. And it ain't even like, all right, give the women more matches. It's like give your champion just the promo time she was getting beforehand. Like now she just reduced to these little backstage things.
She needs to be a babyface, man. I really believe that. I think people want to cheer her. Like just, you know, when she loses the belt, have Jamie Hayter kick the shit out of her, and then roll with her as a babyface cutting live promos every week. You know, that's my pitch.
I mean, it can sure, like she can do obviously be a babyface, but dude, she can still be a great heel. We just haven't the stuff she's done since being champion. I mean, her first feud was with a heel against Nyla. Like they botched it right out of the gate, doing that whole Nyla thing and the hamburgers, or the fuck it was.
That match just was bad.
I forgot all about
that match, that build, that was all bad. I can't, you know, and like
that's what I'm saying though. Like it was bad. There was no reason for that.
But it's difficult because some of it is like they need to do a better job protecting Britt and her like her flaws, because she's still someone that's figuring it out in ring, and that is what it is. I'm sorry, but that's the truth. And they need to protect her better and give her the right matches with the right structure. I'm just saying that, like, even if the builds were weak, if she was the babyface of the match and she was working Serena Deeb or someone that could be a real heel, like, the people would at least have a reason to react because they would be chanting for Britt. Unfortunately, right now we're in a situation where she gets heat on women that aren't on TV. The crowd doesn't know what to do. Like, it makes it worse, is what I'm saying. Now, I agree the chat's right. Her promos as a babyface were bad, but like, I don't know. That's different. That's a different Brit to me. Like, when you look at when she went home, they were basically babyface promos, and she fucking killed those. They were great. So that's one little thing I would do. I think it would elevate Jamie Hayter too if she was the one that, you know, beat Britt up and got that heat. So I don't know. I mean, Thunder Rosa should be the next champion, in my view. I think that goes without saying, right?
Yeah. Well, when it comes to Britt turning babyface, I wouldn't change anything about her at all. I just have her wrestle heels.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Like, don't have her cutting babyface promo. Just have her roast whoever she's wrestling. Just it's going to be people that the fans don't like, and they're going to be with her. But what was the last thing you said, Joseph, just a second ago?
Thunder Rosa.
Thunder Rosa. Yeah. I that makes all the sense in the world, considering like Thunder Rosa beat her, even though it didn't technically count in that lights out match and everything. She's kind of avoided her up to this point.
Yeah.
So yeah, I could see that. And then also, you know, for people who are concerned about, you know, the lack of women's wrestling and stuff on the shows. I mean, they're building this whole TBS belt around, like, you know, there's going to be a lot of women's wrestling on TBS. There has to be, like, the focal point of their championship belt for the show on a weekly basis is going to be a women's title. So, like, I think this is all headed in the right direction.
I do too.
And I'm with you too that I don't think that Britt Baker's title reign has been like particularly great or anything, but as a character, she does really good character work, and she's super over. And that's what I think is really the most. I mean, I want her to have good matches as well, of course. But, you know, she's still getting a good reaction. You know what I mean? So it's like she's still the right person to be the champion right now, but I could definitely see Thunder Rosa being the one. And like I said, I'm always for seeing Serena Deeb doing more because I love that Malenko gimmick she's doing now. Like I think it's just perfect for her. And you just got to think back to like the WWE had her just like coaching people at the PC. You know, like she could have been on TV for so long doing this stuff. But yeah, anyway, that's kind of where I'm at with all that, I guess.
Thunder Rosa is like, to me, she would be my number one pick. If the whole women's division was in front of me and I could start a roster, I would take Thunder Rosa. I think she's the woman I trust most with a big match. Like Serena Deeb is the best mechanic, like technical worker, but like giving me, like a flashy electric main event match, I'll take Thunder Rosa. They're both great, obviously.
Sure,
but
I hear what you're saying.
The presence of Thunder Rosa is like real, man. She gets a reaction every single show. She comes out on Elevation for a squash that people come up. Like, she's a superstar. I'm very, very high on Thunder Rosa. So she her reign, I think, could be something very different for that division, to be honest with you. Hopefully it is.
Yeah. I think, it's inevitable that she'll have the title at some point. I think she would have already had it had she not been contracted to NWA at that, the beginning kind of her. And that was the same thing with Serena Deeb. And people in the chat are saying, Serena Deeb and Thunder Rosa have history. They do for the NWA Women's World Championship. But that definitely is something. That's another thing we haven't even considered in this conversation. Like, I think Camille is still a bit green, but she has a real presence about her.
She's got a lot better, yeah.
Yeah, and like her, you mentioned Layla Hirsch. Her and Layla Hirsch had one of the best matches NWA has had in like the last year for that women's title. So like, I think she's another one who could potentially, like, I see a lot of similarity in Camille and Jade Cargill, for instance. Like, they're two strong women who, like, on like a poster, them facing each other. Like, I get pretty hyped for that in a little while. Like, they still have improvements to make.
I get you.
But yeah, they've been positioned to succeed. So
absolutely, no, I agree. I mean, the only problem is that in terms of the NWA history, that will not be referenced on Dynamite anymore because Tony Khan has told the NWA to go fuck themselves. He's not. He refuses to reference the National Wrestling Alliance. So, that'll be saying else. But no, I'm with you. That that's the kind of thing where it's like I don't know what the match would look like, but as you said, as a poster, it would be a very unique attraction. That would be something pretty different in like women's wrestling history, I think. So
and that's why it's so cool. Like you just don't see that often. Like two women that like if built correctly, especially because Jade's undefeated, and I think Camille is as well in the NWA, or at the very least she hasn't lost in a long time. Right. So it's like it's just the power of building multiple people and then having them wrestle each other and everyone caring about it, like it's pretty basic stuff at the end of the day, but sometimes the most obvious thing to do is just what to do in wrestling, like you don't overthink it. Just that would look awesome on a poster. These two would work well against each other. We've never seen this before and they both win all the time.
Yeah.
Boom.
Nice, simple. I agree. Speaking of simple pro wrestling, I don't want to give some love. I talked about on the world famous Late Night Grin, latenightgrin.com to sign up. That Daniel Garcia Eddie Kingston match fucking ruled. Jeremy, did you see this?
Yeah,
it was so good, man.
Yeah.
And it reminded me, the reason I bring it up is because Jensen famously came on the Distraction podcast on Fightful.com when Garcia just got to AEW TV, and we kind of talked about the concept of him on and I think that's his best performance in AEW by like a distance, which is saying something because he was great in the Punk match too.
Yeah.
But him and King, they gelled perfectly. Which is, of course they did. They're great pro wrestlers. They figure it out. But, I don't know, man. That thing was a blast. Jeremy, you said you saw it.
I did. I should probably rewatch it because I was, half asleep on Friday night trying to watch. I think I passed out immediately after. I saw the discussion on Twitter of Eddie Kingston being and then the bell rang kind of guy. That was tremendous. But as far as, dude, Kingston.
Wait, were they implying he's only over until he gets in the ring that he's no good in the ring?
So this is a thing.
Get out of here.
So there's a thing that's been going. But this has been a thing for Eddie for years.
Yeah, because
it's been most funny. It's been most funny the last year because it's clearly people that have never seen him wrestle, and they'll be like, "Yeah, the build, but the dude sucks in the ring," and it's like, dude, he's he's honestly one of the best wrestlers in the world.
Yeah.
He hasn't missed in AEW in time.
I mean, it's a short list of guys that are better than selling at him. And by short list, I mean Bryan Danielson. And that honestly might be like it. There ain't many guys. People be in, and then the bell rang guy with Kingston because obviously his look, and then he just doesn't do 30 flips and shit. That's what people kind of expect from their wrestling nowadays. He didn't have like hot closing finishing stretches that we've kind of grown accustomed to.
Yeah, which is sad. But I mean, he's the best. He is undeniably better than everyone else at making the most of his time.
Yes.
The Garcia match had enough content for an epic. It was 15 minutes long, man. It felt like a war. Now, Jensen, you've probably seen a lot more of Daniel Garcia than us, so you probably wasn't as blown away as I was because you've seen him do great shit more often than I have. But he's a prodigy, man. He's special.
He really is, and he rose through the indie rankings very quickly. And totally should have. It was and he went all over the place too, and the technical wrestling ability he has, and he's still so young. And he's also going to keep filling out too, body wise. He's still looks like a kid out there, like a teenager. You know what I mean? He's so man, he's already so good. He's gonna be. They got a few guys like that. I think Lee Moriarty is like that. I mean, there's a few dudes out there that it's awesome that AEW is taking, I say, a chance on those guys because I think sometimes there was hesitation from other companies. We'll just say where it's well, they hadn't put enough time in or paid their dues long enough or blah, blah, blah. You look at guys like Daniel Garcia, you look at guys like MJF and stuff. It's no, the talent's there, roll with it. And they're going to learn on the job. And that's what Daniel Garcia is. That's what Daniel Garcia is doing. He's learning on the job. The fan base is deciding whether or not he's over, and he is. I didn't see his pairing with 2.0 made no sense to me when Daniel Garcia came in because they're so opposite each other. Yeah. But they made it work within the context of what they needed to with AEW and the stories and stuff. And so it's it isn't surprising for me to see Garcia doing what he's doing because I expect him to. But it is really cool seeing the reaction of wrestling Twitter and stuff who are discovering him now and being where was this guy? And it's honestly, you did miss a lot if you missed his indie run, but you only missed a couple years. You can go back and watch his entire career from a couple years ago on IWTV and stuff. Use code Fight Talk if you but yeah. So anyway, he's the man. He's only going to keep getting better. He's for sure going to be, it's really the sky's the limit for the guy. He's going to be the world champion one day. He'll be the TNT champion. He'll be in there having main event matches with Darby Allin and Jungle Boy and MJF and these dudes, a couple years, maybe sooner than we think, so it's, it's awesome.
Yeah, he's very, very good. Listen, you don't need to troll me on this. I think Kenny Omega probably is the best wrestler in the world. Sorry, I'm going to pull that back. I don't think Kenny Omega's best wrestler. I think he's the wrestler of the year, the different things, I think, personally. I think Kenny, he's physically, I don't think I'm going on a limb anymore saying that physically he's in a different place in his life and he needs to take some time. I think he's the wrestler. That's my connection dropped.
Yeah, I just heard you say that you thought he's wrestler of the year. Did you say something else after that?
Yeah, my bad. Sometimes my internet's a dipshit. I think being the wrestler of the year, there's a narrative that you often pair with those guys. And Kenny has the story of what this year meant for his legacy, and being the top guy of a Major League American promotion, being champion in multiple promotions, even though that stuff is kind of smoke and mirrors because he didn't wrestle in Mexico as much as he probably would have liked in an ideal world. Impact Wrestling is Impact Wrestling. We know all of this stuff. We get it. I still saw that dude. He had a 4+ star match with Sami Callihan on pay-per-view. And brother, when you do that shit, they should be building statues of you at the Impact Zone. So, he's probably the wrestler of the year.
He'll
to
win.
Be totally honest.
Yeah, he should. He should be the wrestler of the year. Yeah.
But I do think I was looking at my my Fleet 50 ballot, which you can send those in at the end of December. The Fleet 50. where you rank the 50 best in-ring performers in AEW. I love we just promote that stuff on here now. And I'll be honest, I'm biased as hell. Kingston's higher on that list than you would think, though. He's had some bangers this year, man. Now, he had a lot of downswings because, like, the creative, he doesn't need to wrestle all the time, obviously.
Yeah.
But, like, if you look at the tag with Mox against the Young Bucks, the Miro match, the Danielson match, the CM Punk match, the Daniel Garcia match, like, dude's, he's had some high, top tier stuff. So there you go. I think Kenny's the fair winner. I don't know. What do you guys think?
Yeah. I mean, the only thing against Kingston for that is he lost most of those matches. Like, and not that really mattered. I mean, we all
it matters to Bill Apter, but yeah.
But I'm with you that Eddie Kingston is one of the top overall performers AEW has for sure. But I think like, so I would definitely say Kenny Omega was the best wrestler of the year. You got to give it to him. But I think the best like overall professional wrestler in the world right now, I got to say is Bryan Danielson. Like I just, if I had to choose one guy to build the whole company around and not taking into account like longevity and stuff, like I have 1 year right now to build the best company I possibly can. He's my number one pick. I
think for me, Danielson absence is too much, which is dumb, but I just think it is. It's like 4 months, it's a lot. That's the only, like, I'll be honest with you guys, I think he's better than Kenny Omega. There's no shame in that. He's better than everyone. However, for the rest of the year, which is, that's why Jensen separated them, rest of the year, that time off probably hurts him. Is what it is.
Yeah, because Omega's going to miss December, essentially. Like, he's not going to do any matches in December. So he will miss this final month. I still think it's Omega, though, as well. Like, his body of work throughout the year and in different match types and everything as
different
well.
Companies.
It's, different companies. Like, it's tough to... Danielson, I mean, you can't discount what he did in the WWE stuff. So he had the Mania match. He had the Roman match. I feel like
Cesaro matches.
Yeah, the Cesaro matches. Like he had some good WWE matches. And obviously his AEW run has been fucking flawless. There's a chance Danielson sneaks in with like just a absolute killer December. And I ain't putting it past that guy either.
Well, look, I mean, he's got Angels tomorrow.
Yeah.
He's going to wrestle John Silver the week after that. That's a lock for Long Island.
Yeah.
And I think he's going to wrestle Hangman at Winter is Coming.
I think
so based on that, cowboy hats on, brother. Fucking December is going to be incredible.
Like I'm not counting out Danielson with this final month. Some people are saying Shingo, and I think New Japan is just they're at where they're at right now, and it's gonna overall. Like Shingo had a good G1 run. He had a good match against Ospreay and Okada and everything, but New Japan is just so cold that people they're not gonna look at Shingo and be like, oh yeah, that's definitely the guy. It ain't like an Okada standout year for Shingo this year. Okada, when he would have his big years, it was unquestionable. It's like, oh yeah, this is the guy. There's too many other top guys that are having great matches right now, and because New Japan is so cold, he kind of gets left out in the cold.
Yeah, I haven't seen a lot of it. I saw the match with Tanahashi in February. I haven't seen the rematch. I've got on my list of matches to watch. I'm going to do a top 10 this year. Top 10 matches of the year, so I've got some stuff to watch. The New Japan clapping crowds.
Yeah.
It's tough. I will say, though, Evan is great. The Jeff Cobb match was fucking awesome. I remember us reviewing that. That match ruled. So
yes, it did. Hey, Shingo had a lot of great matches this year. Yeah, it's just the company is so cold that you kind of forget about him. But
you also can't tweet about getting like the police on your door, so you have to.
That's very fair. I mean, people. I think it was just JJ. I don't actually think it was JJ. I said Josh Alexander. I mean, Josh Alexander had that Moose match wasn't very good. I really hold that against him.
the spear, the one move.
Yeah.
I mean, Josh Alexander had a great year.
He did.
Great X Division title run. That was another one. 60 minutes. Him and TJP went 60 minutes plus.
They did.
And that was a really damn good match. People have their opinions on TJP, but like he's very good in the ring. Very good in the ring. I mean, he had a match with Calvin Tankman on this past episode of MLW that was awesome. Like,
damn, I didn't see that shit. That's fucking insane.
Yeah, I mean MLW. We were talking about Jeff Cobb. MLW just got Matanza. I don't know if y'all missed that. I mean, for anyone who knows.
Yeah, it's never on the timeline. There's actually a lot. There's a lot to like about MLW, and no one talks about it. It's sad.
Yeah. So
I heard
don't
Jack
remember where I was
Crosby
going with
loves
all
that
that.
show.
Other than, oh, does he? I mean, it's a good weekly show. They have solid matches. But yeah, but I mean, Josh Alexander, it was a good year, but it wasn't like a Kenny Omega type year, especially when you take into account like everything that Jeremy said and stuff. Like, I mean, he went and did that all over the place. Like every major company outside the WWE basically was out there and having good matches, carrying the title. But
it's difficult. Yeah, Josh is definitely one of the. I think he's one of the best stories of the year, though. If I was writing like a column, I would make some space for Josh because I think when you look at where he was at the start of the year, that man, he had a hell of a year and it changed his perception, and it's well overdue because he's been a very good wrestler for a long time now, man. Long time.
Joseph, it would be great though if like you had this amazing story that you could tell with this guy, and then in the name of heat, you rewrite the ending of it, and
it's good
so
because,
you knock him down.
Dude, you make sure his family's in the ring with him when it happens.
Yeah. They're running Charlotte next week in Greensboro, so they have to draw those houses, you see.
Yeah.
They have to bring them back for the heat, It's definitely not a product that runs one TV tapings a month and could have just made people feel happy for once in their fucking miserable lives. So it's fine, whatever. Okay, what's the match of the year? For you guys personally, this is very subjective.
I know what you're going to say, Joseph.
Oh,
I already know your
you
match
do,
of the year.
You do.
Yeah. It might be Bucks and Lucha Bros, like especially being there live, like that was something. Yeah, that was something different, man.
It was just. I'll never forget the visual of Penta, going over to his kids and the blood and the fucking. What a magical moment! That's how it should feel when the tag titles change hands, folks. It should feel like an event, a moment. So, Jensen, what do you think? Match of the year? Where you going on this one?
Honestly, and I'm gonna have some recency bias on it. I just loved it so much, and I was so hyping it up the whole time. But I loved MJF and Darby Allin.
Mm-hmm.
I love the storytelling. I love the finish. I love that both guys are up and coming, but they're main event level guys, in that their story mattered, and that now, especially in hindsight, this is, MJF and CM Punk is next. That's so it told a great story, and it left meat on the bone for where the rematch 6 months or a year from now or something. It's gonna be huge. So I might actually go with that, to be honest.
Yeah, I'm taking, everyone that watches this knows I'm taking Punk and Kingston.
I mean, that match ruled too. There was 4 or 5 matches you could have chosen for Full Gear.
Yes, there was. And the only reason, that one to me, I've locked it in, is I think there's a lot of overlap with all the other matches because the in-ring product nowadays is really high. Even in WWE, man, there's good wrestling on every show. Kingston and Punk was something completely different to the rest. And that will live forever to me. That was a vibe that you rewatch it, you'll enjoy it. Watching that thing live was different, a completely different thing altogether. So that's my match of the year. I also think it helps that, Punk's clearly the story of the year for wrestling, right? I mean, CM Punk coming back is clearly the number one story. And Kingston's continued ascension is not too far behind it. So that's my pick. Very much sentimental also. Let's have a look at the chat. We've got Shingo and Ospreay, which again I have not seen, but I'm told is 7+8 stars. So there you go. Danielson and Omega. Hey, listen, I don't think anyone's going to argue with that.
Yeah, that's up there. The finish just kind of hurts it, and I actually love the way they did the finish, but not having a clear cut winner is just going to.
At the top tier, it's little things, right? You have to, it's difficult. You have to split these at some point. Moment of the year, first dance goes without saying. We'll never forget. You know what pops me that is Jeremy texted me that day, and he was like, "Joe, I'm fired up for wrestling today." And
I hate wrestling.
Right, but it was the anxiety of it all it sticks for me. I remember waiting to hit play on the old Fight TV gimmick and just being just not knowing what we were getting ourselves into. It was a completely unique moment in wrestling history. Crazy enough, it was wild. Jensen, any memories of the first dance?
Oh, it was incredible. I mean, with the crowd, they gave the crowd exactly what they wanted. I mean, we all knew who was coming. courtesy of FightfulSelect.com. We all knew who was coming.
Yeah.
Listen to the Weekender pod over there at Fightful Select. And I mean, the crowd was ready for it. Like, I mean, when you open a show and it's nothing but the loudest CM Punk chants you've ever heard in your life, and they're just waiting, and it's like, why even screw around with this? Just have, like, he's got to open the show, and that's exactly what they did. That pop was gigantic. It was surreal. It was surreal to see this dude who was like so like disenfranchised by like the entire wrestling business for so long. Like for a while there, if you asked him about wrestling, he'd probably go tell you like to just die. You know, you didn't want to talk about it. You know, you're just done with the business. And to see him back in front of like his home crowd and everything, and then the reception he got, that was one of the coolest moments I've really ever seen in wrestling, to be honest.
Me too. I think whenever it happens and we have to put an end, we have to kind of conclude this golden era of AEW, the early years, because there'll be ups and there'll be downs. That's wrestling. But I think that's the quintessential AEW moment where they didn't overthink it. They just gave the pit what they wanted, right? Like just all of these fantasy booking ideas. You could do this, you could do that. They were like, no, man, let's just give them CM Punk. Let's let him talk. And that was more powerful than any great idea ever could have been. Like that was... it's just completely singular. And I agree with Evan that on any other year, Adam Cole and Danielson debuting back to back would have won this award. But Punk is, it's just
I mean, I was there for Danielson and Cole, and like even I can't say that was bigger than Punk. Like that, that's something that's gonna stick with me forever. But even I can't be like, this was bigger than CM Punk and the first dance. I mean, Punk's first match was there, so that helps it. But man, that first dance, it's still something special. I mean, I know I tell this story literally every single time, but I watch that entrance, man. I watch that like almost daily because it's different. It is definitely different.
One of the moments of the year you just reminded me with. This isn't on the same level as CM Punk, but this was one of my favorites. Was you just mentioned entrances when the Dark Order and Hangman come out for that match against the Elite Squad.
Yeah, that's a great one.
That was top tier. Like, man,
that's
I've
one of the best.
That quite a few times.
In terms of production, that may be their like absolute biggest hit. AEW that entrance video they produced for Hangman.
Yeah,
that was great. And the one that Jeremy and I love, speaking of great entrances, these gentlemen coming out of Double or Nothing.
Yes,
and John Moxley convincing himself that Eddie wouldn't be ready for the big crowd and then actually not being ready for the big crowd himself and losing his fucking mind and throwing shoes around and shit. That's an all-timer too. That entrance that's a classic. I mean, it's different. We're all kind of, I don't watch as much wrestling as I should. Jensen, you do a much better job and you have a much better grasp of what's going on. But I think because of the way our fandom is, we all eventually loop back to AEW, right? Like, there's just been a lot this year in AEW. There's been an awful lot to talk about. Like, this is one, and I think this is a great call. Ruby Soho getting that reception to the point where they chanted her name before the entrance happened because they knew, and then her hugging Bryce after. I mean, that was incredible. That was the same show where Suzuki came out as a surprise. There was just a lot. You can't really compare any other promotion with it in terms of moments. It's like in its own league in that sense. It is what it is.
Yeah, for sure. Like you said, I mean, I watch a whole bunch of different companies and stuff, but like, I don't mind. I'm fine with people thinking I'm biased. AEW is my favorite wrestling company in the world. Like, if there's only one thing I could watch, it'd be AEW. Like, and a lot of it has to do with that. The moments are incredible, and they make sense, and the matches have good payoffs, and you can get invested in the characters. There's a lot to like about what they're doing.
Absolutely, Jeremy. What was you gonna say? I'm sorry.
I was gonna say what happens when you run out of pops. Is All Out. Is All Out the show of the year for you guys?
Yeah,
or is it Full Gear?
Because of, I think bell to bell, Full Gear has a real argument that it was. I like a lot of it more.
Yeah,
but All Out has certain circumstances you'll just never be able to recreate.
Yeah, I mean, we've run down the moments. Suzuki, Ruby. I mean, I think the match of the year is on that card. As good as Full Gear was, as far as in ring quality, like I still think the best match was on All Out. And Daniel, I mean, just Punk's first match, and then Danielson and Cole. Like, to me, that's an all-time show. And like you said, Joseph, like Full Gear, bell to bell, better show, more standout matches on that show.
More. Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
But
and there was no Paul White either.
No, I forgot he wrestled QT.
Yeah.
Completely forgot about that. Yeah, I'm with you guys. I think bell to bell, Full Gear. Full Gear was one of the best pay-per-views I may have ever seen, bell to bell, like from start to finish. But considering the moments and the debuts and the great matches on top of it all, I think All Out's what you got to go with. And I also want to throw this out there. They're completely off topic, but just because no one's going to give love to this match, and it just like I thought of it when I was thinking like match of the year stuff. No one will be talking about Ilya Dragunov versus Walter, but like,
Yeah.
That's a
because
really
no
good
one brings up NXT UK, but like they have been putting on, because I've got to do it for the Weekender. They've actually legitimately had a good solid show for years, and just nobody talks about it. So
The police do. The police talk about it every week. But, no, look, you're right. I mean, that was on the last takeover ever. Remember?
Literally
That
the
was
last takeover.
Literally, because the next
Yeah.
ones are not called takeovers. So
Yeah.
that was when the remember the famous Samoa Joe carrying cross match. Remember that famous
that's
match?
right.
Yeah.
I forgot. So that happened on NXT, because their first match happened on NXT UK.
That was NXT UK. That was last
okay.
year. Yeah, that was
Yeah,
2020.
So
But
more
your
people
point-
would have seen the rematch at least.
Yeah, but
Okay.
your point stands. No
Well,
one's
point
talking about
stands.
it.
Yeah. Dude, no one. I don't feel like there are a lot of people remembering that Walter and Ilya match, which is a shame because
It's
shit, that
awesome.
might be
Yeah.
the best WWE match this year.
I think it
Gotta be.
has. I could
Well, I
be
haven't
wrong on
watched a
this.
lot.
I still liked Sasha and Bianca from Mania.
I do too. Yeah.
lot.
I think we're higher on that than everyone else.
I think we are too. But yeah, I really
That
like
match
that
is-
match.
That's the crown jewel for Banks, man. She's so fucking
Yeah.
good in that. Like, she's so selfless in that match. She basically just she's like Ric Flair against Sting. That's the best comparison I've seen on it. Like, she's basically just like, here's the match. You're gonna do every cool thing you could possibly do, and I'm gonna get the shit kicked at me for the next 15 minutes and let you beat me clean in the middle. I mean, I don't get any better than that. That's just making someone. And she's the right person to do it with. So, here's a little stat nugget for you all. Ilya Dragunov versus Walter from 22nd of August 2021. It's only 3 months ago.
Oh my
Jesus
god, that
Christ.
felt like way longer ago.
Yes,
Wow.
that is the second highest rated match in WWE history on Cage Match.
There you go.
It's got a 9.65. It is 0.001 behind Brett and Steve.
I was about to say, I bet you that's the number one is
Yep.
WrestleMania 13. Yeah.
And their first match, the one you were talking about, Jensen, from NXT UK, that is 6th. And that's got a 9.64. So they're pretty close up there at the top. There you go. So there's some information you'll never need to use, but keep it in your back pocket just in case, There you go.
I'm happy
On
to
that
know
note-
that.
I want to talk about something because I tweeted about it. So
Like gas.
Joseph, I know you're an avid watcher of WWE Raw, so this will definitely be very topical for you.
Fight forever. You know that?
So they've mentioned the releases and promos, and this is a big topic. This is a very big topic, and I want to get y'all's thoughts on this. My thoughts are that one, just don't release a bunch of people. How about doing that? Two, putting the heat on the talent is not ideal, but I feel like most of the fans know that like this ain't the talent's fault and this is the company being very stupid. And I don't actually have like this big problem with them bringing it up in promos. I really don't. Joseph?
I mean, I think it's pretty objectively awful, but I get what you're saying. Like, what does it really matter? I don't know. Who gives a fuck? Let's be honest.
I'm trying to create a discourse here, Joseph.
But I just I saw the thing. This is different, but like when Edge mentioned that Miz, like people take shots at you on other shows,
Yeah.
and no one in the crowd reacted. It was just like these people don't, they're here to see the show. Like, they don't care about wrestling. Like they didn't even know what he was talking about. And so I don't necessarily agree. I would like to, but I don't necessarily agree that they actually know. I don't think any of them. They don't know where Ruby Riott is.
Yeah, and Marjo says I'm giving the fans a lot of credit.
I think
and,
you are. They don't have a fucking. They don't care. They don't like wrestling.
Honestly, maybe I am because when I kind of talked to Garrett about this when it came to AEW is like AEW fans know that the promoter is screwing over the rest. Like if they book Hangman to lose, the heat's not on Kenny or MJF or whoever. It's on Tony Khan.
No. It's on Cody.
It's on Cody.
True.
like they know it's on Tony Khan. We're like, why'd you book this shit? Like, and maybe I think that's the mindset of a WWE fan, and maybe that's on me. Is that like they know that the Miz didn't actually have anything to do with Morrison's release. They know that Becky's contract didn't actually have anything to do with all these women getting released. But maybe they don't. Maybe they actually do watch this and they're like, wait a second, this is the reason they got released. If that's the case, I don't think many of them know they got released. They're just gone. It's like the show just moved on.
Well, that's what happens. I mean, Twitter may get mad, but that's basically what happens. I don't know. I'll be honest with you, I don't even get what that means, the contract thing. Like the fans are like, yeah, boo, you get paid a lot. Fuck, man. What is this? That's the dumbest shit ever. That's like, why would you have a babyface that? I don't think. I don't know. We all know they didn't reach out to anyone, so like, it's obviously not ideal. But are we really surprised? Really? I don't know. They do loads of shit like this. I don't care, right? Jensen, I know you're not surprised. You're grinning at me there. I know you ain't surprised.
I mean, I'm not even 100% sure what y'all are talking about. This sounds like I saw someone in the chat mentioning the company blaming Baron Corbin when like
that
was an all-time. Right?
No, I remember seeing that. I was still watching when that happened. But like, is this in reference to like I saw the thing about Edge. So you're talking about Edge like because he said MJF mentioned the Miz basically.
Yeah.
And then he also said like, oh, you went away to do Dancing with the Stars and left your partner high and dry, and now he's not here anymore.
I didn't know
Ruby,
that.
I mean, last week I think Becky said like, you disappointed your friends who aren't here anymore, and then this week Liv said the reason my friends aren't here is because you have to have like a big contract and everything.
And what kind of reactions did this get from the live audience?
Oh, they didn't really care. They don't react to anything WWE does, though.
Like, they don't. They're just there. It's like, I can't stress enough how different the crowd is, man. Like they're not locked in. And like, frankly, and listen, I'll say this because I think the world of her, and we all love. She's great. We're so glad she's in AEW. But like, even if you did say to the guy that was or the girl that was sitting in the crowd, like, yeah, they're talking about Ruby Riott, they'd be like, who gives a fuck about Ruby Riott? Like she lost to Ronda Rousey once. They don't know. Like she never got any reaction from that audience. And then when she showed up on All Out, people were chanting her name. It's just different. Like they don't care. They don't. Braun Strowman's gone, and frankly, bless the guy, but most of his audience are people that then just went, okay, fine. Who's the next big fuck that says his name?
Oh, let's go, Omos. Hell yeah. Well, I'll just say this real quick. I think the lack of reaction and understanding probably comes from the fact that most of the people in the crowd are probably either, literal children or like somebody who like is like an adult who like breathes super heavy into his keyboard every Monday and like yells at Raw. Like even though they're forcing him to watch it.
Jensen's gonna get canceled.
No, I mean that's the truth. I mean, who else is like? I mean, you can like what you like. I say it 1,000 times. You can watch all the WWE Raw you want to, but like, I mean, the only people that would know what you're talking about are fans like us, right? Like they're like adults.
Yeah. So here's why maybe I don't care that they do it. One, I don't care about their actual product, but like it's actually something interesting. And that's all I'm asking.
I'm not bearing Pulaski, Evan. He's getting paid to be irate at the company. Okay, that's a totally different scenario than watching this for free. That's a totally different thing. Yeah, I need to throw that out there. There are certain people out there that have to do this for their jobs. I totally respect that. But if you're not getting paid anything and you're just yelling at your keyboard every Monday, like all caps, breathing heavy, like.
People do need to realize, because this happens when I always dunk on these folks, like Alex Pulaski is like funny, and his intention is to be funny 90% of the time. Well, I'm sure he gets actively frustrated when they kill like Mustafa Ali because that's his guy. Like for the most part, he's just trying to make people laugh, and it's like it's a
comedy show.
Yeah, it's like a what the best term is. Like in all forms of entertainment, there's these reviews that like people go there to see them get fired up and dunk on it. Like Alex he's pretty chill guy.
It's the best.
He's a really nice guy, actually.
I think it shows incredible. I know Evan's saying he was just playing around. I just wanted to put that out there. Like, there's a difference between what Alex does and like the general Raw fan that I'm talking about.
Yeah. No, I agree completely.
But Jeremy, I think I might have cut you off. What were you saying? So, do you agree about this whole like what
he's
I'm
a
saying here?
He's a bootlicker, Jensen. Don't worry.
So Dave is saying same argument can be made. Mox saying Roman deserves cancer was interesting. Randy saying Eddie in hell, interesting. I feel like those are way two different scenarios because we're talking about people who are, Eddie literally died. Roman literally had cancer. Ruby got released. That sucks. She's doing fine in AEW. All right, she's okay. She's doing great in AEW. Morrison, I'm sure he'll be fine. I don't know. I don't have an issue with it. I don't have an issue if they're going to bring it up. I don't know what the outrage is about.
Well, I think the outrage is about, and this is just my theory, Jeremy, so shoot me down if you feel I'm being a little bit forward.
I get what the outrage is about, Joseph.
I think it is about the fact that they have fired around 125 professional wrestlers in the last 2 years.
It's horrible.
You're similar. You're kind of broken by it. Oh, it's fine. Don't worry.
I am. It's horrible that they fire these people.
I'll say this: when this thing about trying to make each other cry is almost worse to me because I've seen those bits where Liv is like, "You cried, you great big fucking coward!" Like, what is this show, man? Come on, do some good wrestling.
It's a horrible show.
To Jensen's point here, because when he's talking about the audience, he's correct. They would be better served telling stories that entertain the people that watch their show rather than try to make us care about their work shoot shit because none of us care. Like that's why I always stood up for the Fiend Bray Wyatt because that audience liked the Fiend Bray Wyatt. Do you know what I'm saying?
For sure. I mean, they sell a lot of those dolls. Like I get it. Like I think the majority of the actual fan, like the 1.5 million people still watching Raw or whatever, there's like a small percentage of that are adult fans that complain on Twitter about it every time they watch it. And then there's a big percentage of just kids that are watching that. And they're also watching Nickelodeon. They're watching Disney Channel and these kind of things. I think the majority of the people that watch the show out of that 1.5 million or whatever are people that just have a smile on their face, sit down on Mondays and turn it on and just enjoy it for what it is. Like they're not overthinking it. They're not thinking about behind the scenes stuff. They're not thinking about dirt sheets or any of these kind of things. They're just watching it. When half the roster of people disappear, it's just kind of like, oh, okay, well, like you said, Braun Strowman's not here anymore, but we got the giant Omos. So like, that's my new favorite big dude or whatever. I mean, that's the whole thing. That's why they only need like 15, 20 people on their roster to begin with. Like because you don't need 125 wrestlers to do what they're doing.
Which is why it was always hilarious they opted to do that, which was, a strange technical choice. Like they're now doing what they can get away with doing. But every form of entertainment has this. We are just in like the nerd bubble of ours. So like, here's a perfect example, okay? This is gonna go very poorly. Watch the viewership drop. So some of you may know that I attended the recut of Rocky IV last Tuesday. Okay.
Were you waiting for your pause? Were you waiting for a congratulations?
No, that's fine. It was just in the cinema. I didn't like go to the premiere. So I went to this and I was like, that was good. I walked out to my brother. I was like, man, I thought it was, maybe a little bit better. And I was like, I'm going to pop myself. So I typed it on Google, Rocky vs. Drago recut, whatever the film's name is. And I was like, Reddit. And brother, there is full threads of people sweating bullets over the changes that were made to this film. That is what I am for professional wrestling. And that is the same if you listen to an album. And like, I've experienced this before. It's like, if you just listen to it as a casual, and you're like, that was pretty good. You go on Reddit and people are like talking about how much it sucked and how guys falling off. And like, it's just, we're in the nerd, zone. Now, here's what I would say. This is my genuine opinion. I think WWE does a very poor job of actually catering to the people that want to enjoy their shows.
Yeah.
And that's where letting a guy like Bray, go, I think is nuts. Braun, another one, to be quite frank. But they can do it because they have such a loyal, certain people watching the show that Jensen referenced earlier. But I think they need to do a better job of, frankly, doing the modern take on what they did in the 80s. in the 80s, they didn't give a shit about match quality or what nerds like us thought. They were trying to, become mainstream. Whether that's the right play or not, I don't know, but they could at least commit to it and try to be there, whatever sports entertainment is. They're just a bad wrestling show at this point. It's a shame.
All right, let me try to wrap up my point
Bootlicker.
before I get called out some more. It's interesting in the sense that their show is so stale and so shitty that doing something like this is at least a talking point for us. The same reason I find the Charlotte and Becky stuff when they were doing that on not even on their show, why it was interesting. Because I've just become it's such a boring show that when they do stuff like this, I'm like, oh hey, we can talk about this on air. Joseph, it's something different to talk about.
I don't want to talk about it.
I don't blame you. I
do have something to say because this piece of shit, JJ in the chat, this shit, literally 2 hours ago, JJ began to mock me about Alexa Bliss going to Impact Wrestling. And I want to make this very clear now. If that ever happens or comes close to happening, you'll never see me again on one of these shows. You'll never. If at some point in my life I am watching on YouTube's Impact Insiders thing, the Decay doing a backstage vignette with, I guess her name will be like Lexi all caps. We'll discuss this. You'll never see me on one of these shows again. So I'm not appreciating the ongoing banter. This is up there with people just dunking on me for like I'm Roderick Strong. Leave me alone. I'm harmless. Let me enjoy the professional wrestling I choose to watch. That's all. I made it very clear. Sorry, Jeremy. Carry on whatever you was talking about WWE.
I don't know. Who gives a shit about WWE? I was trying to discuss something.
We have our limits, man. I'm sorry. I'm like,
Well, let me ask you an honest question, both of you guys. Like, if there was no, and there's no right or wrong answer here. Like, I'm not going to judge either answer. If you are, no, I really won't. Like, if it wasn't a part of your job to watch Raw every Monday, would you?
No, fuck.
I don't. It's not a part of mine, and I refuse.
I barely. It's become less part of my job, and so I was asleep by like 9:30 last night, man. I only watch like the YouTube clips and stuff at this point. I don't watch these.
Would you watch Dynamite regardless?
Yeah, 100%.
Yes,
because you're still wrestling fans, right? And that's kind of my whole point. Like, there's wrestling fans that are adults that like have See, here's the other thing. I think a lot of the current WWE fan base they don't have anything to compare it to because it's people that are so young that they didn't live through like what we saw has gotten so much worse over time. There's not a lot to compare it to. For like the next generation. They just like it because it just is what it is. But like, we're like, man, it used to be so good. But I've just given up on caring. But there's a lot of people that are still holding on like it's gonna get back to where it was one day. And it's just taking a hard right turn to something completely different. Not better or worse, but a completely different product than what we had.
I think, and look, this is probably dumb. So I've never had to deal with the logistics around a wrestling website. And I'm aware there's not a lot of money in this game, so what I'm about to say makes no sense. Just hear me out. I am kind of the belief that we should all just like completely ignore it. And what that means for content like this, I don't really know. I guess that would mean we have to talk about Impact, in which case, Jeremy, any thoughts on Raw? No, look, I kind of, there's a big part of me that thinks us analysts, whatever the hell we are, talking about Raw this much is like, it kind of is insane to me. It's like a movie critic only talking about the Transformers films, It's like, we know, like, we all have our opinions on it and we all think it sucks. And we're just kind of going in circles. Not in this particular conversation, because Jeremy's right, it is interesting, I guess. But, like, again, Alex Palowski does his thing and he's, like, entertaining with it. But, like, me getting on a podcast and being like, man, they don't really pay these stories off, huh? These baby faces are bad. Like, it's fucking pointless. Of course they're bad. They've been that way for years.
This is why we don't talk about that stuff on this show. That's why when something out of the box happens, like Charlotte and Becky, like them bringing up the releases in this manner, it's interesting to talk about because it's like, oh, this is something different. That was my whole point of all of this. Again, it's not, look, do I think it should happen? Should they do better stories? Should they just do better overall? Yes. 100%. Do I have a problem that they're doing it? No, because it's content. That's all I care about.
Do you agree, or do you think that those of us with a platform, and Jensen is not the person I'm looking at with this gun because he does the Weekender and talks about every show other than the ones we're talking about right now. Folks like myself, Jeremy Lambert, and others that I would name if I watched their podcasts. Should we all talk more about these other promotions? Should there be more conversation about the weekly happenings of MLW, Ring of Honor until the last couple months, Impact? Now, I would say it would help if they were interesting. However, Raw's not interesting. And I always end up talking about that shit somehow. You know? It intrigues me like how different the landscape would be if we all just...
I mean, we tried to do something with Ring of Honor, and then O'Neal killed it. I know. That's just, not our fault. Impact is... None of these shows are interesting. Wrestling sucks. I've been telling you guys this for years. I know, it's all horrible.
I just think there is probably something to be said for us discussing the promotions that actually want our eyeballs, rather than going in circles about a promotion that actively resents the fact that we still watch their show. That's my take. Now, that is not, the correct play in terms of viewership. Let me tell you, I've seen the numbers. I know that. But, there's something to be said for it, man. We just sitting here saying the same shit everyone else does about Raw. Not you and I necessarily. I'm talking broadly,
Yeah. Yeah. That's why I stopped doing that. And not even just because I like all these other companies more. It's like, what's the point of, unless you're Alex once again, what's the point of just talking about something you don't like over and over and over again? It just seems like a giant waste of everybody's time. And that can't be fun to listen to.
That's, and it is worth saying, you always say this, I need to do it too, because you're correct. When we're doing this, we're not referring to people that have fun reviewing Raw and like talking about it. We're talking about what it would be like if us three did a Raw review every week.
Yes.
We would have optimism for 1 week. And then we would just go in circles about the same shit. That's what I'm getting at. Some people still enjoy it. God bless them. We're talking about us and people like us. That's all.
Yeah, I've never once ever on any podcast ever told anyone not to watch Raw. If you like it, watch it. 100%. 100% watch it. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. This is why I stopped doing the SmackDown review show. One of the reasons is because I'm just repeating myself every week and trying to figure out what they're doing, where they're going with stuff. They don't know. And Joseph, I'm into the meat of storylines and trying to figure out how this plays out and everything. I don't want to let it play out. I want to figure out in my head how it's going to play out and then be taken along for the ride. And you're not going to get that in WWE. So the stuff that I care about as a fan, you don't actually get that. The thing with MLW is there's so much turnover with that company. It's just, I don't know. There ain't much there. Impact, sort of the same way. The one story I cared about this year, they moosed it. So who could possibly care?
So you're right. I will say that I have got anecdotal evidence of my own very, very limited platform helping certain wrestlers and other promotions. There are guys that I have, banged the drum on. The audience that watches us, bless them, has a different opinion on it according to that and have watched stuff and got back to me. There was one vividly. I did a Shane Taylor feature that multiple people that may be watching this show now have reached out to me and was like, I'd never seen him wrestle and I went and did that. So there is a chance, and again, I'm not saying this is difficult because it sounds like I'm basically saying everyone else should do what we do. I'm not. But we have got a pretty sizable platform, believe it or not. We're under the Fightful banner. And I love this is a year-end show at the end. I'm going to try to do more with these other promotions. Now, here, the problem with it is Impact, which is Impact. MLW is interesting, and I think genuinely wrestling sites talking about it more, as hilarious as it sounds, because poor Colt, he tries his best, but it would help them, I think. No one talks about that shit, man. I don't know. Maybe we could help. I don't know. I just want wrestling to be healthier because I'm worried right now. There's a whole lot of free agents and there ain't many places to work full time. There's a lot of places to work, but not for big money.
So a big part of this conversation that you haven't touched on that I think is ultra important for this is I don't, especially because this is what I think makes the Weekender like something that I think people like listening to, is become a fan of the wrestlers, not the promotions.
Yes.
Like if you can start, like the Weekender is a good place to go. I know I'm tooting my own horn here, but like there's other people who talk about independent wrestling. But like I promise you, if you listen to the Weekender, every single show that I do, the first like half hour or so, I pick a show from independentwrestling.tv, use code Fight Talk, and I go through most of the talent for like each show and highlight them. And if you can start just kind of picking people, like right now, for instance, two of my favorite wrestlers in the world are Merck, who used to be known as Graham Bell, and Joshua Bishop. Both the guys are like almost complete unknowns. They are in like the landscape of mainstream wrestling, complete unknowns. But it's like you can find some guys like that and some girls, you know, whatever, and you become a fan of them on the indies. And then it doesn't really matter where they wind up. The WWE is the one kind of downside because they're going to change a lot about them in that company. But for the most part, it's like you can follow these wrestlers as they go to MLW. Now all of a sudden, like, okay, you've been watching Tony Deppen, right? And like, so then you're like, okay, well, where else is Tony Deppen wrestling? Oh, he's on GCW, he's on Ring of Honor, he's on this and that. And then that's when you start getting exposure to other wrestlers you haven't seen because you're watching the show. So like, I think that these companies should get more people more talking about like the companies themselves, of course. But we're in a time right now where like, if you can find just some wrestlers that you really like that are independent wrestlers that don't have like a strong allegiance to one particular company, and just kind of watch them go all over the place, because that's going to lead you to finding more people that you're going to become a fan of. And it keeps it fun. Because like, you know, then something might happen where, you know, someone I like might wind up signing somewhere that I don't really watch. And I'm like, well, I'm happy that they got paid, but luckily I have all these other wrestlers that I'm going to keep watching do their thing. And I'm going to keep discovering more. And I can keep loving it and enjoying it. And in the process, I'm supporting multiple companies because I'm following the wrestlers that I like. You know what I mean?
So we actually talked about this a little bit. When this channel became a thing and before we settled on the Ring of Honor series, I spoke to Jensen about like an independent wrestling series, right? I mean, we had this little conversation about it, like, and Jeremy, you was there for this, right? And I was like, we could do a deal where you pick out a couple guys.
Yeah.
We watch some of their stuff and we kind of look at where they're at now, where they could be, where they've been, all of that stuff. And I actually think in a lot of ways that is a better step, both for content and both also for the industry, than us just being like, we're going to now review Impact every week. You know, because ultimately, a lot of these promotions also, and this is going to be a thing more and more as the releases add up, you know, a lot of these places are going to host guys that you've probably seen enough of on TV. And I mean that with love, but it's the truth, right? Like, it is what it is. There's a whole world of guys that are just finding their footing in the industry. And, you know, in 1 year's time, they could be wrestling CM Punk on Dynamite. That happens. Like, you're seeing it happen. So I think that is actually something we're going to like really try and lock in on and figure out what the best way to do that is. I have a plan. I'm going to just say this on the air because if you made it for an hour and a half of this, God bless. I am planning on, you know, I do Fleet Files, which is like a league thing for AEW. You know, like you get points for each thing. My plan for content next year is that I'm going to do the best of the rest, where I take, I believe the promotions I've got is because Ring of Honor is obviously, you know, MLW, Impact, you know, New Japan Strong. There's NWA. I'm going to take those four promotions because they got weekly TV, right?
Yep.
For better or worse, weekly TV. And I will rank each week the match of the week, promo, star, one other I forget. And I wanted to kind of track like which of these shows is the best, you know, because let's be honest, we group them together because they're all really Impact's in a better spot than them. What I'm saying is like, you know, it is what it is. Like we kind of just go, they're not
very low for Impact too, though. To be fair,
exactly. Like it's not like they're a lot. Let's be honest, they're closer to them promotions than they are AEW, a lot closer. So
yeah,
that's something that I was going to do as written content, but I also think that's something we can do here and we can integrate and we can kind of. I guess what I'm saying is I think there's a way that we do a better job. Not you, Jensen. Again, you cover these shows. Jeremy and I do a better job of kind of like shining a light on the stuff without doing front to back coverage. Because I think Jeremy and I both would lose our fucking minds if we do front to back coverage of these shows, you know. But like, you can do stuff. There's a lot of options. There's never been more wrestling to watch. It's so accessible, and the idea of just kind of going in circles is kind of frustrating, I think. And you know, we'll see.
I mean, as Joseph, as you know, when we got this channel, we play around with a lot of different content ideas, and I really thought, I mean, we said it the first few weeks we did it, like the ROH show. It's kind of like our best and favorite show that we started doing because it was something different. And then what happened, and what can you do? I still think there's a place for classic match watch along because apparently the watch along stuff does like pretty well. And we keep doing that. Like next week, we're going to talk about Final Battle a little bit. Like I do want to talk about that show and can still have a discussion about like ROH and whatnot. And we'll probably review Final Battle as well on the following Tuesday. But like we do shows on Monday, we do shows on Wednesday. The post show can be we can do shows on Friday. We do shows any day we want. I've got ideas as well to hopefully spotlight different things in wrestling. I think some people know about them. But yeah, we can do whatever we want with this channel. We don't have to talk about WWE. I think for my own sanity, there's still points that I would want to talk about WWE just because
we can do it. Yeah, we can definitely talk about it. Like, again, it's really difficult because I don't want to say this, but like, we kind of do what I'm saying. I just want us to go a step further with covering the other stuff. I have no problem with you bringing up something like this, like every couple of weeks. It doesn't bother me. It's fine.
Well, they're probably going to do it 1 week, and then who gives a shit after that?
Right, exactly.
But yeah, the WWE stuff, like, and when O'Neill's on, we always talk about WWE because that's kind of his wheelhouse.
Because he's good for views and he's a bootlicker.
I like seeing stuff like that though. The people they're just fans. Like, there's nothing wrong with that. Like,
he's wavering a little bit though. He's wavering.
Oh, is he? He's starting to see the light a little bit.
He watched on the Grin last night. We watched a 1999 WCWC show, and he watched that rather than Raw, and I was like,
that WCWC show, was it like Saturday night or like
Worldwide.
The Sunday morning? Worldwide. That was like the Sunday morning show. I remember that. Hell yeah.
We can play around with different ideas because I think we can do better in spotlighting certain promotions and independent wrestlers and things like that. I think we can do better in spotlighting different content creators. And we've talked about, having somebody on Wednesdays and doing that. So I think there's always room for improvement in different things we can do. And as you said, Joseph, like, we do have a decent sized platform being under the Fightful banner and everything. And we should always just do better in spotlighting stuff. One, that is interesting to us. Two, that maybe goes under the radar. And three, like, if it helps out a wrestler, if it helps out a content creator, like, that's always good too.
The one thing I will say is, it's been really cool seeing folks in the chat say they'd never seen a Ring of Honor match before, and then they watch it with us. Pops me tremendously. I do want to give a quick shout out. If you go to your podcasting and type in Through the Years, but spell it THROH, this is Trevor Dame's podcast. I'd never listened to it before. That's on me. He's been doing it for a long time. They cover every single Ring of Honor show in order. They just made it to Joe versus Kobashi, so it's a great jumping point, even if you don't want to go further. The reason I do that is because what we're doing is very much a loose deal where we just use the matches they've uploaded for free and we kind of share it as like, we can all watch it together. If you want like actual deep dive into what that promotion is, its ups and its downs and the stories at the time, that podcast is perfect. So I recommend that big. I should have done that earlier, but I forgot because we didn't talk about Ring of Honor. That's one thing. And also, we talk about all the content. Like, if there's stuff you want to see in wrestling's history, we're open to that too. Like, the Ring of Honor stuff is kind of modern history. But man, we did the Grin last Friday, and we started talking about Japanese wrestling. And, Shoot was talking about how, like, the stories are just incredible. And, like, learning some of that stuff together and watching some of those matches together, I think could be really fun. Now, with copyright, it's interesting because those matches just kind of exist on YouTube and no one really cares. But there's a lot of shit out there, man. There's a lot of stories to learn. So we'll try and figure out different ways to do that. But yeah, this has become just us planning content. Good stuff.
I would like to learn more about that stuff. Like, I think even independent wrestling, like I follow the results and stuff. Do I watch as much as I should? Probably not. Like, I'm so in my own wrestling news bubble that I don't always have time to consume a lot of the stuff that I'd probably rather consume than, hey, let me listen to my third Drew McIntyre interview of the day. That's just unfortunately where I'm at. And there's only so much time in the day, and that takes precedent. I'm trying to push that along, and so I'm able to bring you guys more stuff like this and more stuff that I enjoy doing than third Drew McIntyre interview of the day.
That's fair. I mean, it's basically what we're saying here, guys. Just to conclude, is that starting next week, we'll be starting a series called Ring of Roddy, in which we watch the top 150 Roderick Strong matches. You can join us same time. So look forward to it, folks. That's what we did there, right, guys? That's what we concluded.
I think so. Yeah.
All right, good. All right, thanks everyone.
Who gives a fuck?
Jensen, you've already plugged everything you need to plug.
IWTV, Good Fight Talk. Follow me on Twitter at @FightTalk_. If you want to watch me and Doug live rounds tonight, every Tuesday at 10 p.m. Eastern, we'll mainly be previewing AEW tonight since I'll be at the show tomorrow. So talk about that. We'll talk some GCW because Doug's going to be there live at GCW this weekend as well. So that'll be a lot of fun tonight. That's the RVD Tito for Life YouTube channel. It's the number 4, RVD Tito for Life. And then I'll, of course, Fightful Select Weekender podcast, FightfulSelect.com every Sunday. But in all seriousness, I do want to shout out Jessie Davin. Like, she's still, she's one of my best friends. I mentioned her on the Weekender as well this past week, and just wanted everyone to go over there, keep showing her love. She's fighting like hell in the hospital. I talked to her a day or so ago, was the last time I was able to talk to her. Tony Khan's direct messaged her. Cody and Brandy sent her balloons in a care package to her hospital. And the outreach from like the wrestling community and wrestlers themselves, and even guys like Tony Khan who owns it's been unreal seeing the support she's been getting. And she's got a family that needs her and 2 beautiful daughters and stuff. So everyone keep Jessie Davin in your thoughts. Make sure to, shoot her a message or some words of encouragement over there at Jesse the Buckeye on Twitter. I have a lot of people that I consider friends and acquaintances, but there's very few people that I think legitimately care about me, check in, just see how I'm doing throughout the week, that kind of stuff. And Jesse's one of those people. She's really important to me. So I really hope everybody goes and keeps showing her love, and she's going to keep fighting. She's going to beat this thing. It's just, she's going through hell right now. So just keep her in your thoughts, everyone.
I ain't plugging shit. He's right. I can't be follow me on Twitter. No, Jensen's right. Follow his lead on that. And we'll be back tomorrow, right? Back on this channel tomorrow.
We will be. I do have to read the message from JJ. It says, hello, favorite big stars. Hope you're doing well. Welcome back from vacation. Jeremy, you got to see Jeff Jarrett live. Yes, Steven, are you feeling better? Open invitation to Conrad Thompson to appear on The Distraction. Love you all. You been sick, Jensen?
I've a little off and I wanted to make sure I was good for tomorrow. That's the big goal, is getting to AEW tomorrow. I am feeling a lot better though. Just a little bit of a cold just over the weekend. Maybe I ate too much on Thanksgiving. I'm not sure. Oh, and also I'd be remiss if I didn't mention, I got one on my desk right here. Happy Hanukkah to everybody who celebrates. I have this awesome 1995.
My God, that's
Power
fucking
Rangers
rules.
Hanukkah. Dude, the Red Ranger followed me last Hanukkah when I tweeted about it. So I'm really happy about that. So I'll end on a happier note. I know, we want Jesse to get better, but also happy Hanukkah to those who celebrate. And we got a lot of good stuff coming up in the holiday season. So there we go.
Okay, I have something to say now. It's built a bridge for me to say something. Yeah. This is pivotal. Okay, Jeremy Lambert is currently winning a draft that he should not be winning. I'm mad about it. I'm real mad about it, and I was going to let it go because it was not as important as what we were talking for. But Jensen lightened the mood some, so I'm going to just say it. Okay, I need everyone. I think we have time left. I think
so.
Go to the great Chris Bordine's channel, Music and Moonsaults, in which we drafted the WCW Starrcade matches in history. Jeremy Lambert showed up unprepared. He was drunk on the job. He was slacking. It was embarrassing. I had to defend him to our other members of the team. I was like, it's okay. It's not his fault. And he is currently winning the draft because he quote tweeted it with, please vote for me. And that is bullshit. So go watch the draft for yourself and vote, not just for me, vote for whoever you think won other than Jeremy Lambert, because he did definitely not win this draft. He knows it. I know it. Steven Jensen hasn't seen it, and he knows it just by Jeremy's reaction to all of this. So that's actually, I'm glad that I remember. Yeah, vote. Don't let Jeremy win.
That was a Daniel Bryan performance. Just sleptwalked through the draft. Still turned in the best performance out of everybody. Yeah, sometimes you just show up and you're so damn good, Joseph, that you still win no matter what. You don't even have to be 100%. You can just go through the motions and still pick up the W.
Apparently so. So there you go. Right. I think that's about all right. We're doing a show on Friday, but we'll plug that later this week.
What? Oh, okay.
Yeah.
We're doing a show on Friday?
We're doing a guest spot.
Oh, we are. I was like, wait a second, what are we doing on Friday? I thought you meant on this channel. I was like, what are we doing on Friday?
Yes. I like when we both get booked, we have to share our booking fees for it.
Yeah, we do. It's bullshit. We will be back on the channel tomorrow. What time's our show tomorrow, Joseph? 6:30?
6:30, bro. I'm
6:30 before Dynamite. Okay, so we'll be back on the channel tomorrow for that. New episode of The Distraction is Thursday. I don't know what we're talking about. Probably whatever happens on Dynamite after Lee Moriarty gives CM Punk his first loss. It'll be a pretty big deal. We'll have to talk about that. And then, yeah, usual back on track here, everybody. Back on track.
All right, let's go.
Oh, boy.
No.
So we got a real big problem. Somebody keeps fucking me here.